Hello, my beautiful babies, and welcome to God Emperor Dune Club Session 5. We are over halfway through our book. I want you to congratulate yourself and give yourself a little pat on the back if you're still here, if you're still doing it. If you've survived thus far, you are a hard person, and I respect you. So let's get into it. Oh, hold on, wrong thing here. Okay, let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of that. All right, there we go. There we go. So for session 5, you need to have read pages 308 through 382. And the last sentence of the last chapter of this session is the oldest man in our universe and the youngest, both in one flesh. All right. So let's jump right into it. Chapter 29, Duncan argues with Leto. There's a lot of that in this book, and especially in this session. Like, Duncan is really, he's a real ball of emotions. So Duncan is pissed, as usual. The fish speakers fibbed on him, and told him that, told Leto that he went to the Citadel after Sihanouk, because he's still freaked out by Sihanouk. I mean, he's like kind of reeling from that. So he went to the Citadel afterwards, and Duncan's pissed that Leto knows about it. And he also, doesn't understand. He's talking to Leto. He's like, why, like, Mineo, like, I talked to Mineo, and he knows that his daughter Siona is a part of a rebel faction against you. You know, like, what the fuck? Like, he knows, and he's just, like, cool with it? Like, I don't understand. And also, what is this upcoming test? What is this all about? Did you also test Mineo? Will you test me too? And Leto's like, I am testing you every day, bitch. I am like, right now you're being tested, like, every fucking day. And Idaho finally admits that he doesn't understand shit. He's totally just out of it. And Leto responds, how fortunate that you have discovered the way of wisdom. And Duncan's like, the what? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, and Leto's like, I've told you. If I have told you once, I've told you 100 times that when you think you know something, that is the most perfect barrier against learning, which I thought was really funny. I was cracking up about that. Duncan pleads for Leto to tell him what is going on. What? I am freaking out. And Leto says, look, my friend is acquiring a new habit. He is learning always to look beyond what he thinks he knows. And he's like, I'm not talking about right now, Leto. I'm not, you fucking smart ass. I'm talking about everything. What is going on? And what the fuck is beyond me being a part of Sihanouk? Okay, what was that about? That freaked me out. And Leto says, well, I'm binding them to you, obviously. And Leto's like, they're trying to fuck me, dude. There was an escort. They wanted to stop for an orgy, okay? It's awful. I don't know what to do about it. And, he's like, well, they know that I love those Duncan babies, so of course they're going to try to fuck you. And he goes back into, I'm not your stud, Leto. I just totally want to make a fucking button that says, I am not your stud, Leto. I mean, he's such a broken record. He is such a broken record. And Leto's like, all right, dude, I know. Like, can you just stop yelling? Like, do whatever you want. Like, I know you're not my stud. You keep saying it. I get it. He's just like, why are you so freaked out, Duncan? What's your problem? He's like, the fish speakers, or Duncan says, the fish speakers aren't an army, they are a police force. Leto assures him that is not true because they cannot be corrupted like cops. And then he goes on to quote, police always observe that criminals prosper. It takes a pretty dull policeman to miss the fact that the position of authority is the most prosperous criminal position available. Prisons are needed only to provide the illusion that courts and police are effective. They're a kind of job insurance. And you talk of prisons and police and legalities, the perfect illusions behind which a prosperous power structure can operate while observing quite accurately that it is above its own laws. That's right. So Leto's letting him know. Leto's kind of like ACAB a little bit here. Definitely, PJ. I saw your question earlier. And yeah, he's just like, you know, one of my favorite quotes from Dune is, you know, give me the judgment of balanced minds in preference to laws every time. Frank Herbert hates laws. He hates laws. He hates the legal system. He can't stand it. He sees what a fucking farce it is and how it's not really helpful. And he's like, you know what? Let's just do mediators. Like, let's like come on. Like, laws are shitty, and they don't have, like, you have a law and then it applies to everybody, and there's always exceptions to the rule, but then if you have a law you can't make an exception, and then all these people get fucked up by these laws that are like, they're mindless. I would rather have mediators and balanced judgment of balanced minds. So anyways, Duncan goes into he's like, oh, well, you don't have prisons. Well, all the planets are prisons. Okay. We're all prisoners. You're keeping us all on our planets. And Leto's like, well, if you want to think about that, if that's how you want to think about it, whatever, dude. Like, that's cool, I guess. And Leto's like, I don't need laws and I don't need courts. Okay. I've made my religion to keep people in check. And one of the primary sins is corrupting a member of government or corruption by a member of the government. Okay, so that's how I'm dealing with this. I'm dealing with this my way, and this is how I do it. And Leto is trying to reel Duncan in like a fish on the line. He's bringing him to the net, but he thinks about how this always hastens the Duncan's end. You know, and he's like, this Duncan, he's just going too fast. Like, this Duncan's freaking out too fast. I'm having to reel him in. He's going to end up getting himself killed. Like, he just got here. And he also tells Duncan that all of my most trusted administrators were rebels at one time. And Duncan's like, well, not me. I'm not a rebel. And he's like, are you kidding me, Duncan? Like, you are a genius fucking rebel. Like, you helped the Atreides wrest an empire away from the Emperor. Like, you rebelled against the fucking Emperor, Padishah Emperor, and you helped them to win that war. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, dude? And then Leto hits him with the Paul voice, and he says, you're my best friend, bro. You're better than even Gurney. We're besties. And Duncan's just like not having it. He's just like, I hate it when you do that voice. I am doubting all of you. All of you in there and everyone around me. I'm doubting all of you. And Leto's like, and you say you don't know your value to me. I love that you're a doubting Thomas. That's what I need in my camp. Like, that's exactly why I like you. And then Duncan says, well, Siona says that you want us to fuck. And he's like, yeah, she's really creative, right? Oh my God. Like, she's so cool. She's like, not like concealing shit like the Ixians in their no rooms. And Duncan asks about Hui, because he just brought up the Ixians. And he's like, well, you don't trust Hui then? And he's like, oh no, I 100% trust her. She ain't concealing shit either. Duncan says, well, then I need to get to know her better. Since I'm the captain of your guard and you trust this Ixian, I'm going to need to know this person. And he's like, no, you're not. No, you need to stay away. You need to stay away from Hui. Stay away. And we'll see how well that works out later. Going into chapter 30, we have Hui origins. And I really liked the header for this chapter. Remember that there exists a certain malevolence about the formation of any social order. It is the struggle for existence by an artificial entity. Despotism and slavery hover at the edges. Many injuries occur, and thus the need for laws. The law develops its own power structure, creating more wounds and new injustices. Such trauma can be healed by cooperation, not by confrontation. The summons to cooperate identifies the healer. Which I was like, oh yes. And he's going into his whole thing about laws and all this shit. I'm like, yes, I love it. So now we have Mineo. There's a lot of meetings. This is like a book of meetings. Mineo meets up with Leto. Mineo's like totally like, hey, Antioch, she is a mentat. And Leto's like, I know, it's funny. It's really cute. Like, it's hilarious. And Mineo's like, are you going to punish them for this? And he's like, not punish. Come on, I'm a parent. I have to be generous as well as severe. I'm not going to do anything about it, even though he has, outlawed mentats. He thinks it's cute. And he asks Mineo about the Leilaxu, and Mineo says, well, they are really trying really hard to ingratiate themselves with me right now. And he's like, Leto's like, I bet, dude, I bet. They provided, so they're telling Mineo, they're spilling the tea, you know, they're in trouble for the face dancer attack that didn't happen. And so they spill the tea that they provided the Ixians with sufficient advice and equipment to make not a Ghola or a clone per se, but more of a cellular restructuring inside the machine that Leto cannot look into, and that the old Ambassador Malky was seen going into this room, and later he came out with a baby about 26 years ago. So we are surmising that this was probably Hui Nari that he came out with. And Leto was like, yeah, that's what I thought. She's a mirror twin of Malky. Like, she's like his like somehow they created a mirror twin baby of Malky, and that's what Hui is. And Mineo was like, oh my God, let's send her back immediately. Oh, Jesus. And of course, Leto's like, no, she's staying right here. In fact, I need you to go get her, and I need you to tell her to come to my room and make sure she doesn't think she's in trouble, because she's not. All right, so just be cool. And also, I'm sending Siona some reading material, so make sure she gets it. They then go on to talk about the spice and how Mineo fears it because he doesn't want all the Atreides baggage that comes with spice addiction. You know, all the Protean visions and turning into a worm and all that. And I love it. I love the part when Mineo says no in Leto's presence. And Leto says that you seldom say no in my presence, and I enjoy watching your lips form around the word, which I thought was really funny. And he ends their encounter with this. Drug knowledge originated mostly with males because they tend to be more venturesome, an outgrowth of male aggression. You've read the Orange Catholic Bible, thus you know the story of Eve and the apple. Here's an interesting fact about that story. And keep in mind that he would have the Leto would have the memories of the first humans, because we're all descended from the first humans. So he's now claiming that he has the knowledge of Adam and Eve in himself. And he says, here's a fun fact. Eve was not the first to pluck and sample the apple. Adam was the first, and he learned by this to put the blame on Eve. I was like, what? That makes so much sense. And then it reminded me of this hilarious meme I saw that somebody on Twitter tweeted. If Eve ate that apple, then why do Adam's apple still then why do men have Adam's apple still stuck in they lion ass throats? And that always made me laugh. And then this kind of like Herbert is saying like, yeah, dudes took the apple first, and then they just put the fucking blame. They fucking gaslit her and like, no, I've never tried this. Oh, I guess I'll try it because I love you. It's like, and it's funny because last week, PJ, you brought up about Frank Herbert, you know, like how I felt about how he treated the sexes and like men and women, and did I feel like it was like feminist or anti-feminist? And I don't know, I just feel like this shit cracks me up. Like if you think that if Frank Herbert isn't fair to women, like I feel like this story really like tells you how he feels about them. And so it's like he's on our side, he's on the ladies' side too. So let's move on to chapter 31. Leto's official proposal. He like kind of half proposed last week, but this week he like really proposes. So enter Hui Nari. And I love how Leto notices the color of the cushions she chooses. Like last time she got a red cushion, but this time she sat on a gold cushion. Like he's so into this chick that he is like noticing the cushion color she sits on. Also, I love her cute harem pants that she's wearing that have bows on it. Yes. They definitely tell us about what Hui is wearing in every scene, which I'm really into because there's just so few descriptions in these books. So she asks, why have you summoned me? And Leto says, well, your master's on Ix. And she's like, wait, they're not my masters. Okay. All right. They're not my masters anymore. So let's not call them that. And he's like, fair enough. The Ixians then. The Ixians are wilding right now, and I'm sending Antiac to investigate, and I want you to tell her everything about your time growing up on Ix. And she's like, well, do you think they're making weapons? And he's like, no, but that is gonna be our cover excuse to go investigate your birth. So we're just gonna say that we think that they're making weapons of mass destruction. And then we're just gonna go over there and spy and do what we really want to do, which is find out more about you. We want to find out about you, And she's like, oh, you're so devious, Leto. She's like, okay, well, I'll go tell Antiac right now. And he's like, wait, don't be so hasty. Don't sit back down. We're not done here. Don't you have any questions about all this? And she is like, you will provide answers as I require them. And Leto is in love. He's like, you're not questioning me like all these other assholes like Mineo and Duncan. They're always fucking giving me shit all the time. You're just like, you'll tell me when you're ready. When I need to know, I trust that you'll tell me. And he's just like, he's so in love. And they start talking about the reasons that Leto chose the worm life. He says he saw humanity ending, and choosing the worm body changed that, but the golden path also depends on how he dies as well. He says he doesn't know how he'll die, but he knows that when it comes, he'll know if it's the right death when he sees it, and whether the golden path continues. And he also lets her know that he will die 4 deaths: the death of the flesh, the death of the soul, the death of the myth, and the death of reason. And all these deaths contain the seeds of resurrection. So there we go. We've got our Jesus parallel with Leto again. Just like Jesus being crucified on the cross, we've got Leto being, stuck in this worm body. And it's such a bummer. And he's doing this. He's sacrificing it all for us. And he lets her know that he's like, I'm keeping humanity in timeout on their own planets to give them a longing desire to travel and to equate traveling with the notion of freedom. The spice is dwindling, and after I am gone, there definitely will be a famine, and lots of people are going to die. And the guild won't be able to really help until the sandworms and the spice come back on Arrakis, which will take about 300 years. And in the meantime, during these hard times, the fish speakers will be there to teach people about survival. And this terrible time in general will teach humanity to really appreciate life. And can I ask you a question, Hui? What do people say about Leto's peace? And she answers, you make us wallow in pointless decadence like pigs in our own filth. And he tells her, always recognize the accuracy of folk wisdom. He's like, I agree. I am exactly doing that. Yes, I will give you so much peace that you will fucking choke on it and you'll never want it again. I'm going to give you so much peace that you're going to stop lying to yourself about wanting peace, and you're just going to stop this fucking facade, this lame farce that we're always playing out in humanity. And he also goes into, most men go through a lifetime unchallenged, except at the final moment. They have so few friendly areas in which to test themselves. And he's talking about the difference between men and women, and how women, if you choose to be a mother and you get pregnant, like, going through childbirth will change you. And that is such a crazy experience. It's a very challenging experience to push a baby out of you, and it's like you're tested. That's your test, and you pass it or you don't. But men don't have something like that. There's not like this big test like they're used to. I mean, when society was less peaceful, it's like they would be tested all the time. You'd be tested. You go out in the forest and you're hunting, and like, do you get killed by the boar or do you kill the boar? You had that. But now in polite society with cities and everything, they don't really have that, which is true. And I feel like that for dudes today, they don't have a lot of that. And I think that we should bring Thunderdomes back into existence. Well, not back into existence, but I think we should bring legalize fight clubs into existence, where you sign an NDA and you sign up and you just get to fight somebody, and there'll be rules and regulations, of course, to some degree, where it's like, you can't motherfucking kill somebody unless you want to join the kill league. I don't know. If you want to get in the kill league, we could have a kill league, but I think it would be good for people, not just men too. I think it'd be good for women as well. But, people don't want to hear about my I keep bringing up my Thunderdome idea, and people just always boo it down. They're just like, shut up. You know, I was just like, people have so much aggression right now. Like, they're so angry. And if you just gave them a place to do it and just like let them have at it, then maybe we could like take some of this pressure off. Like, maybe people would be less angry if they could just duke it out with one another, and you would match people up. You know, you wouldn't necessarily put like a really super strong guy against a really weak guy, you know, like you could put them, you know, like put it to where it's a fair fight and everything. But people don't want to hear it. They don't like my ideas. So then Leto goes into, moving on, then Leto goes into the difference between a good administrator and a bad one is about 5 heartbeats. Good administrators make immediate choices. A bad administrator, on the other hand, hesitates, diddles around, asks for committees, for reports and research. Eventually, he acts in ways which create serious problems. A bad administrator is more concerned with reports and emails than decisions. He wants the hard record, which he can display as an excuse for his errors. Good administrators depend on verbal orders. They never lie about what they've done if their verbal orders cause problems, and they surround themselves with people able to act wisely on the basis of verbal orders. Often, the most important piece of information is that something has gone wrong. Bad administrators hide their mistakes until it is too late to make corrections. And I really love this because I have fucking seen this in action. I have seen it. This is true. This is, I mean, like just watching, like dealing with corporations through the years and like partnering with different corporations through the years has like, wow, you know. And again, I've seen so many people go down, you know. It's like, oh, buy Machinima, buy Maker, buy, although Maker kind of got absorbed by Disney, but it's like buy Verizon Go 90, you know. And that's exactly what they were doing. They were just like, there's a problem here. You guys are making fucking mistakes. Like, this shit sucks. Nobody's gonna fucking say they're fucking up. And then they turn around and it's like, oh, well, the millions and billions of dollars that you've put into this fucking stupid project or this platform or this app or this whatever the fuck, it's over. It's over. It's all a big fucking waste of time because you had a bunch of fucking dickheads who are in charge and they just want meetings after meetings, and they just, it's so true. It's just the worst. It's the worst. So, you know, just it's true. I love all the wisdom in this book. Leto also has another thing. Says something cool. One of the hardest things for a tyrant to find is people who actually make decisions. Most bureaucracies before mine sought out and promoted people who avoided decisions. Also true. And she's like, Louise over here. I see, my lord, I see. And how would you use me? Because you have a lot of administrators. So how may I be of service to you? And he says, will you wed me? You can do that. You can be my wife. I don't need any more administrators. I need a wife. And she's like, yes, I'll do it. Let's do it. Let's get married. And so the proposal is official. She said yes, y'all. She said yes. So exciting. I wish I should have had like a little thing, a little something prepared for today to celebrate their proposal. I want to see their proposal photo shoot. I really want to see their proposal photo shoot that they send to everybody. So let's go into chapter 32, girl talk. So Hui is talking to the Bene Gesserit, Antiac, Reverend Mother Antiac, and Antiac is in her crappy little room. She's still in her crappy little room on the outskirts of On. And she's writing a report for the Bene Gesserit about her impending travel to Ix on a black square. It's like 10 by 10 millimeters and like 3 millimeters thick. So it's like this cool little black square that you can just write on. And get this, the completed messages would be impressed upon the nerve receptors of an acolyte messenger's eyeballs, latent there until they could be replayed at Chapter House. Wow. That's a crazy Ixian machine. Like, oh, what the fuck? Like, that's pretty, I don't know. I thought that was really cool. And she's thinking back to her meeting with Hui, and Hui came up. She was rolling deep with like 100+ armed fish speakers. They sit down. Hui is immediately like, first off, I'm marrying Leto. I just gotta let the cat out of the bag, but don't tell anybody. You gotta be, you can't tell anybody because we're gonna announce it soon. But just like, mum's the word right now. And Antiac, it takes all of her training not to gasp, not to be like, oh, what the fuck? Antiac is just reeling on the inside, but you know, she's got to be like, okay. She's just got to like keep it cool. She got to keep that Bene Gesserit poker face going. And she asks, do you know why Ix chose you as an ambassador? And Wee says, yes, they intended me to beguile him. And Antiac is like, well, you appear to have succeeded. You did great in your job, which I thought was really funny. And she brings up the Leilaxu rumors of Leto's gross habits. I love that. I love and I hate that Herbert keeps bringing up the Leilaxu rumors about Leto's gross sexual habits. And he never tells you what the rumors are. So in your mind, you can like make up some weird shit, you know, because whatever you're going to make up in your brain is going to be way worse than anything that he's probably going to write. But at the same time, I just kind of wish he would like spill the beans on like what the Leilaxu rumor about his gross sexual habits are. I'd love to see in the chat what you guys, after this, what you guys think is his gross sexual habits. When you keep hearing about this, what do you think? We'll talk about it during the Q&A. And then they chat about Ix. Hui goes into mad detail about her life. Antiac realizes who, let's see here. Leto chose, oh yeah. Antiac realizes that Leto chose her to find out about this no room situation because he can't have the fish speakers doing this. Like, he's like, why did he choose me to do this and go to Ix on this very sensitive mission? But it's like, oh, it's because he can't have the fish speakers knowing that he has a weakness, because this no room is a weakness. It's like the fish speakers believe in his godhood 100%. They're like, this is an omnipotent living god. And if they find out that there's a room that he can't see, then that kind of like puts a chink in this god's armor. But she's also like, but is it that simple? You never really can tell with this asshole. You know, it's plans within plans with this guy. So that's probably part of the answer, but there may be more to it. So let's see here. Chapter 33. Let's go to Attack of the Worm and Aftermath. We got a lot of action in this chapter. There is a terrorist attack in the city of On during the festival. The first explosion goes off outside the Ixian embassy. It's killing civilians that were on their way to a sick party with a face dancer performance. Leto gets super pissed because this is where Hui is stationed, and he orders his fish speakers just immediately on impulse. He's like, wipe out the face dancers, just kill them all, and then he's like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, but like, okay, I'll try to modify my orders. And he's fascinated by how angry he is. He hasn't felt like this angry in like thousands of years. He's like, wow, I'm actually fucking mad right now. But like a threat to Hui, this aggression will not stand. Then there is a second and a third blast, and he's like, okay, I gotta get in there. I can't just sit here. So he goes up in his little, comes up on the little elevator, and he arrives on the plaza and gets into the fray. And he looks out, and he just sees, when he gets up there, it's just devastation. There's just bodies laying everywhere. The Ixian embassy is like fucked up. The plaza's fucked up. I love that there are thousands of free-floating glow globes all over the place to like illuminate everything. Like the fish speakers just like let all these glow globes go, and they're just like all over the plaza, like lighting it up, which is it's such a cool, like, I just love that visual. And he roars, "Where's my Duncan? Where is he?" And the fish speaker's like, "Don't worry, we took him to the Citadel. He's safe. Don't worry about it." And then, yeah, it's about drawing a line in the sand, Rakatika. Exactly. I'm so glad that you picked up on that. So rebels, the rebels and the Leilaxu are attacking the Ixian embassy. Another bomb goes off. Leto speeds over on the suspensors on his cart, and he is going so fast that he's pulling glow globes in his wake. You know, they're just like being sucked in his wake. He is running people the fuck over. I mean, he is just like slaughtering people. His cart spills over directly in front of the embassy, and he goes rolling off of it, which is like crazy. And then he feels these laser guns like tickling his little worm body. Like people are just shooting at him like crazy with his laser guns. And like he just tucks his little face. He like gets his little face. He like puts it in his kind. He tucks his little arms inside, and he just goes full fucking worm mode. He's arcing, he's flailing, he's rolling like an insane wheel, lashing out on all sides. Blood's going everywhere. People are getting smushed. It's fucking total chaos. It's absolute madness. Blood is lubricating the streets. There is so much blood that since he's allergic to water, he starts smoking a little bit. It's like, it's fucking his shit up, which only makes him go even crazier. He's like flailing even more because he's like, the worm is just taken over and it's in pain. And the fish speakers back him up. They're picking off all the stragglers who he didn't manage to smush, and they leave no survivors here. And afterwards, Leto's like, oh fuck, he gets back on his busted cart. He's like, oh, take me home, cart, take me home. And then he goes to his quarters beneath the plaza to a room where he can get blasted by superheated dry air to restore himself from water damage. Because he's like, if there's ever a time when water is like getting on me, I need to have like a big not air conditioning, but like a blow dryer room to just dry me off. Just dry me off with that hot air. And so he gets down there. He's restoring himself. He's so worried about Hui. He commands her to be brought to him if she has survived. He also commands the fish speakers to leave some of the face dancers alive. He's like, okay, I know I said kill them all, but don't kill them all. And Hui it's reported that she's wounded, but she's safe, and she will be brought when the coast is clear so he can relax a little bit. And he takes a minute to reflect, and he's just like, damn, I could have been killed out there. Like, holy shit, that was crazy. And then he's like thinking, who could have planned this? Like, this is pretty nuts. And he's like, Malky. It's that son of a bitch, Malky. I bet it's fucking Malky. He's behind this goddamn attack. And he's like, hey, fish speaker, tell Antiac, our Reverend Mother, tell her, A, does she understand why I set her up in her crappy room away from everything? Because she was so far away from all the battle that she and her entourage were fine. And B, while she's on Ix, she must locate Malky and report that location to the local garrison of fish speakers on Ix, and he is not to remain alive and free, and he is to be brought to me alive or executed, whatever. I don't give a shit. You could kill him or not. Just get him. Just get him. I don't give a fuck. He also contacts Nyla, and Nyla confirms that yes, Siona is still at the Citadel. No, she is not in communication with the rebels. No, she does not suspect me spying on her. And she also lets him know that this attack was by a splinter group called the Leilaxu Contact Element, in which Leto hears the name and he just sighs internally. He's just like, oh. Rebels always give their groups such pretentious labels, which is so true. It's so true. Like it's just like, I never thought about it, but like, yes, like rebels really do give themselves very pretentious labels. And he tells Nyla, let Siona know that you're a fish speaker, because she doesn't know that. And, but tell her that you didn't tell her you're a fish speaker because you thought you wouldn't trust her, or she wouldn't trust you. And that also, you're the only fish speaker who, hates Leto, and you don't want to be found out. So just tell her that. But also tell her that, reaffirm your oath to her by swearing by all that is holy to you that you will obey Siona in anything and everything. And also, P.S., try to get Siona and Duncan to hook up. Just try to make that happen if you can. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. And then his Bashar Naishe arrives to give her report. She's like, the fighting is over. The repairs are underway. By the morning, the plaza will appear as if nothing ever happened. I love that. It's so fucking, such a power move to have, there's these rebels and they've exploded the embassy and all this shit and the plaza's all fucked up. And then by the morning, it's like nothing happened. They're just on it. They're just like, nope, we're gonna have the crews come in. They're gonna clean it all up. Like nothing happened. Just gonna really demoralize them by making it just look like whatever they do is stupid, and that will fix it in a night and it'll be done. Oh yes, Alrock 1, propinquity. Yes, I also noticed that word when he's speaking of Duncan and Siona. He's like, let propinquity, take its course. And I had to look up the word propinquity, which is proximity, essentially. So if you put people together in the same space, then eventually, they'll have something, some sort of, not necessarily a romantic attachment, but an attachment will occur between people who are hanging out all the time, like your coworkers. You form a bond with your coworkers, even if, it's just because you're hanging out all the time. You can't help it because you guys are just in the same fucking place all the time. So anyways, I love that, new words. Thanks, Frank Herbert, for teaching us all new words. So, and I loved this. Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier. That is the midnight mass connection. For the first time, he's talking about Naishe. For the first time, she had seen the God Emperor kill. The seeds of a terrible dependency had been planted. If disaster threatens, my Lord will come. That was how it appeared in her eyes. She would no longer act with complete independence, taking her power from the God Emperor and being personally responsible for the use of that power. There was something possessive in her expression. A terrible death machine waited in the wings, available at her summons. And he's like, oh, fuck, I fucked up. I shouldn't have let them see me kill a bunch of people, because now they're just going to expect me to come down like a god and fix everything. And that's not what I want. I want people to be independent. I want them to make their own decisions. I want them to defend themselves. I don't want them to think that I'm just going to come down and fix everything for them, because that's not what they should believe. That's not what I'm trying to create here. That actually makes them weaker. I've weakened them by doing this, and I strengthen them by letting them take care of their own problems. And we were talking earlier, about the atheism thing and people being like, why would a God who created this allow all this suffering to happen? And why, if they could snap their fingers and make everything perfect, why wouldn't they make everything perfect? And this is a really great example of why. Because, maybe they want you to be independent and make your own decisions. Because if you did that, then you wouldn't be independent, and you just depend on the God. You would just depend on the God. You wouldn't take personal responsibility, which I think is really interesting. Moving on, we also learn about Leto's suicide squad, which I thought was really interesting. There is a squad of errant fish speakers who have been caught doing something bad, and they've been isolated, and they're reserved until Leto finds a crazy problem where they would gladly die believing that they have expiated their sin. They're like, okay, I'm sorry, I fucked up. I will totally go into battle and I will die. I don't have a problem. I am a fucking Suicide Squad death commando. If that means that I can not be a sinner anymore, yes. And even the rumor of that such berserkers had been dispatched could quiet a trouble spot. So I love that he has his own Suicide Squad of fish speakers. So, and he tells Naishe, okay, we got to see to the survivors, and we have to make sure that they blame the Leilaxu for this, okay? Even if fish speakers killed their loved ones, because fish speakers just went around killing everybody. If you were a suspected face dancer, you were murdered, So they're like, so just make sure that everyone thinks that just blames the Leilaxu. We got to do some PR here. And also, we will provide a distraction for them tomorrow. So I've got that going, but I need you to start doing this. And you've done really great, Naishe. What do you want? What can I give you? And she's like, I want a vacation to Salusa Secundus to go see my family. And he's like, oh shit, we're more related than I thought we were. You're fucking descended from Hark Alada. I love it. Done. You can totally have it. And she leaves. Hui enters. He asks her, are you okay? Oh my God, how are you? Hui's like, I got a little cut below my knee, but the fish speakers, they treated it and it doesn't hurt anymore. And except for the first explosion, I was not in danger. Your fish speakers rushed me into a room deep beneath the embassy. And Leto is just like, I am so glad she did not see me go nuts out there and kill all those people. I did not want her to see that. That is so embarrassing. She would be so scared of me. I do not want her to see the worm. Okay. I don't want her to see me as a crazy death wheel. Oh, thank God. He's just so, whew. And he apologizes to her and he says, hey man, I'm so sorry. This whole thing was because of us. Okay. This whole thing. And I want to give you the opportunity right now to reconsider our marriage, because this is what it's going to be. People are going to test this whole thing, and that's what this is. And while she's thinking about it, he builds an entire human lifetime with her in his memories, which makes his heart ache with pain deeper than the pain of the bloodbath he just experienced, which was really sad. He was just like, in his little brain, he just like came up with a whole fantasy about their married life and him being a human and them just like having just a whole thing together. And I was just like, oh, poor Leto. And she eventually comes out of her thinking, and she goes, oh my gosh, but how else could I serve you? You know, there's no other thing that I could do for you besides be your wife. And he's like, well, I love you as a man loves a woman, but we can't fuck. It can't be like that. I can't have that kind of relationship with you. And she's like, well, should I just go then? Because like, I just feel like I'm like bumming you out, and like this whole thing sucks. I don't want to bum you out. And he's like, no, they would only hurt you and try to find out what went wrong with their plan. Okay. So she's like, okay, fine, I'll stay. And we'll get married, and we'll take whatever pleasure we can get from being together. Okay. It doesn't have to be sexual. We could just like, it'll be cool. Although, you know, there's a part of me, you know, there's a part, because I've thought about this whole thing a lot with X-Men, growing up with X-Men, you know, Rogue, she can't be touched. And it's like, oh, you know, they can never be together. But it's just like, can't you get creative? Can't you just put on some gloves? Can't you just use a dental dam? Like, can't you just get a dildo or something? Like, can't you? There's just so many things you can do. You could do. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's things you could do. It's like, Leto, you've got hands. You got a tongue. You can put on some gloves. You guys could figure it out. Yeah, use a condom, Rogue. Exactly. It's like, I don't get it. Like, it's I don't get it, okay? But I'm a pervert, so I don't know. Like, I'm a red-blooded American person, and I don't get it. But whatever, man. You guys do you. Rogue, be depressed. Leto, Hui, be depressed. Like, you guys could get weird if you wanted to. You could figure where there's a will, there's a fucking way. Where there is a will, there is a fucking way, my friends. And I am disappointed in these fictional characters for not figuring it out, okay? For not figuring it out. But whatever, I digress. Let's move on. So Leto pledges to tell her all of his secrets, and she's like, don't tell me all your secrets, because then people could try to get them out of me. And he's like, don't worry, you're gonna be with me all the time. You're never leaving my sight again. You're gonna be living in the Citadel. You can hang out here. You can be in the Sarir. That is your home now. I am never letting you be away from me ever again. And she's like, okay, that's totally fine. And but she's like, but should we do anything? Yeah, where's there System in Eve? Where there's a Hui, there's a Hui. I love that. That's really funny. Good one. So she's like, well, should we do anything about these Leilaxu stories about you being a weird pervert or what? And he's like, no. And I don't ask you to lie about it. You know, like just don't say anything. If you hear people saying stuff, you don't have to tell them like the truth or what's going on, but just don't say anything. Just don't say anything when they say ugly ass shit to you. And he's like, look, people are going to hate me people hate me now. They're going to hate me even more after I'm dead. They're going to hate me for a long time. I don't give a fuck. Eventually they will stop hating me. That hate will fade. And then way after that, they're going to find my hidden journals, and then they will know the truth. Okay. Then humanity will be ready to know the truth. I just got to let them get their fucking little rebellious little crap out of the way first. And I got my hidden journals. They're going to find them. It's going to be fine. And Hui goes on to surmise that Leto is neither a devil or a god, but something never seen before and never to be seen again, because your presence removes the need. This woman gets it. She gets it. She sees him. I don't understand how nobody else sees him. She sees him. And he's also like, hey, by the way, can you stop calling me Lord? Because it's like, you know, we're going to be worm and wife. I love he says, we're going to be worm and wife. So just call me Leto, okay? Just call me Leto, baby. Call me Leto. She's like, okay, Leto. Yeah, totally. I'll call you Leto from now on. Then they talk about Siona, and he makes Hui promise never to try to persuade Siona of Leto, you know, not being a piece of shit guy. And he tells her that all gods have this problem In the perception of deeper needs, I must often ignore immediate ones. Not addressing immediate needs is an offense to the young. And I was like, fuck, you're so right, Frank Herbert. That's so true. It's like, it's so, because I remember being younger. I mean, I'm not like old, but it's like, I remember being, I'm a middle-aged person. I remember being a younger person and being, yes, I was offended by people not addressing immediate needs. But now that I'm a little older and a little wiser and somebody with a little bit more experience, I too perceive deeper issues that I have to ignore immediate problems to deal with these long-term issues, you know, like that's a real thing. But then the young people are like, yeah, you know, the fuck you're doing, you know. You're just like, no, I do. It's just, these are more pressing, but they're longer needs, you know, it's crazy. Yeah, you highlighted that one, Jace Famati. I know, it's Scott. I underlined it too. I was just like, yes. I put a little like heart by it. And then he goes on to tell her that never attempt to reason with people who know they are right, which was another one that I highlighted. I was just like, yes. And she's like, but I just, you know, I could convince Siona. And he's like, look, if somebody came to you and said, Leto is pure evil, he is a motherfucker, what would you do? And she's like, well, I would get pissed. And he's like, exactly. And so that's what they're going to do. If somebody knows that I'm a fucking piece of shit, then they're going to get angry if you just try to tell them otherwise. So there's no point. And she's like, oh, you're totally right. You're totally right. I get it. Which is true. And I mean, that's the whole problem on Twitter. Like, I just feel like I need to actually change my header for Twitter with never attempt to reason with people who know they are right. And just to remind myself constantly, like, although I've gotten much better, I don't fight people on Twitter like I used to. I've definitely gotten a little wiser on that situation. Because, you know, it's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna do anything. So just leave it. Just don't even worry about it. And so they end the chapter. He tells her tomorrow, we're going to have their surviving face dancers. We're going to do a little performance. We're going to do a little song and dance. And then we're going to announce our betrothal. So get ready. Get a good night's sleep because tomorrow's going to be crazy. So let's go to tomorrow. Wedding planning with Mineo. Poor Mineo. The wedding betrothal was announced after the 2-hour performance of the surviving face dancers. The face dancers are like, trying to sing and dance and just like they're fucking terrified, but they're still doing their job. Everyone is freaked out that Leto's getting married. The fish speakers are kind of disturbed by this whole thing. I mean, they're like, yay, but then they're like, didn't you say at Cyanoke that we were your brides? Like, I mean, yay, but like, aren't we your brides? Like, I don't know about this, Leto. And poor Mineo, he comes to a meeting with Leto after this betrothal announcement, and he had no idea about any of this. He is fucking furious. He is pissed. And he's like, the Leilaksu lies are gonna be believed now. You're taking a bride. They're all gonna think you're a pervert worm. They're all gonna think you're a fucking creeper pervert worm. They're all gonna believe it. This is gonna bring all your enemies together. Who the fuck is this bitch? Like, what are we gonna do about this? This is a problem. And Leto is just like lolling about it. He's just like, no fucks are given over there. And Mineo's like, look, if you need my help, I'm gonna need an explanation. Okay, why are you marrying this lady? And Leto says, emotions. They have come over me just when I thought them gone forever. How sweet these last few sips of humanity are. Oh, poor Leto. How sweet these last few sips of humanity are. This poor guy. And Mineo and, you know, Duncan later accuses Duncan before, of witchery. She's bewitched you. This is a work of witchery. I don't trust this lady. And Leto was like, the tripod upon which eternity swings is composed of flesh and thought and emotion. I felt I had been reduced to flesh and thought. He thought he just lost emotion. He thought he had lost it. And he says, if we deny the need for thought, we lose the power of reflection. We cannot define what our senses report. If we deny the flesh, we unwheel the vehicle which bears us. But if we deny emotion, we lose all touch with our internal universe. And it was emotions that I missed the most. Aww. And Mineo just won't drop it. He continues to try to dissuade Leto. He's like, but I insist, Lord. This is, and Leto's like, you're making me angry, Mineo. And that's an emotion. That's an emotion. So you better be fucking careful. You better shut the fuck up right now. And Mineo's like, oh, you're right. But I don't care about, you could smush me if you want, Lord, but I just care about you. Okay. That's why I'm saying this. I care about you. And that's what I'm upset about. Okay. Then Leto waxes poetic on the irony of Ix, people who make machines and shit, how they produce a person who perfectly embodies the highest human qualities that Leto cherishes the most. And then he speaks about how lonely he's like, man, I'm fucking lonely, dog. Look at me. I'm a fucking worm. Like, what do you want? And Mineo's like, okay, yeah, I can see you being lonely. That would be kind of a reason. But, you know, they're all gonna laugh at you. Leto, they're all gonna laugh at you. And Leto's like, I don't give a fuck, dog. You think I care? I'm a fucking worm, okay? I don't give a shit what these people think, all right? I don't give a fuck. And Mineo's like, fine. Where and how will the wedding ceremony be conducted? Okay, like he takes it. He's like, fine. Whatever, dude. And then Leto just pounds into, actually first Leto is off in space. Like he's like, okay, well then how do you want to do this? And Leto just like, he starts going off into space. He's thinking about his own shit. And Mineo's disturbed by this. He's like, you know, I hate it when you don't pay attention to me. And he's like, I'm paying attention. He's like, no, you're not. You're off. And Leto's like, what, wool gathering? And he was like, what? Stop saying that. And Leto then just pounds Mineo down with philosophical shit about how pathetic Mineo's life is in the face of Leto's longevity. Just what a tiny speck of dust he is. He's just gonna make Mineo feel really small. And then he also talks about how words are fucking stupid. He's like, and you know what? Words are stupid. So what do you think about that, Mineo? And Mineo's just like, please, I'm so sorry. Just please, like, how do you want to do this wedding? Okay, like, where the fuck do you want to get married, dude? All right, I'm trying to help you. Just tell me the words that you want to fucking, what do you want? And Leto finally gives Mineo his answers. He says, I want to do it at Tabor Village in the Serir. You pick the date. I don't care. I'm going to conduct the ceremony myself. You're going to give the bride away with the old Fremen ritual. We're going to need Ghani's water rings for that. And I need you to invite a fish speaker guard and the aristocracy. So like you and your daughter, definitely Siona. Siona should totally be there. I love Siona. She's got to be there. And the rest of the courtiers, you know, all those dickheads. And but Siona, I mean, she may die from her test, but if she doesn't die, she could totally come to the wedding. And also I need you to get a real still suit and a robe for a Fremen bride for Hui. That's what she's gonna wear. So they finally get to it and get it figured out. Meanwhile, Duncan has been outside the door getting ready to argue with Leto again. Chapter 35, Duncan argues with Leto again. So Duncan is back on his bullshit. And with what Leto calls the sense syndrome, when the Golas start feeling really dislocated and they become super sus. They're just sus of everything around them. They're, you know, dislodged from their own time. I mean, why wouldn't they have this problem? And Leto just thinks this is so fucking boring. And also it is noted that this existential crisis cannot be entirely eliminated. You can divert it, but it's still, once the sin syndrome starts, it's in there. There's no getting rid of it. And Duncan has heard about Leto becoming an angry god from the fish speakers and how he just slaughtered a bunch of people in the plaza. And he's also heard the rumors about the wedding. And he is like, no way is Hui gonna marry this fucking gross worm. She's so beautiful. She would never. This is disgusting. And he starts in with, this isn't real. I don't belong here, Leto. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Leto has to again reassure him. It's like, you're needed, dude. You're so needed here. Duncan's like, you only want me for my sperm. That's what you want me for, isn't it? And Leto is like, bro, can you chill with that? Like, your sperm is your own to put where you wish. Okay, just please Stop. Like, stop, okay? Like, duh. Like, get out of here with this shit. Then Duncan hits Leto with some new shit. This is new, because, like, you know, Leto's done this with a lot of different Duncans. He said, "You've committed a crime by resurrecting us Duncans without consent. I did not consent to this. This sucks. You didn't ask me if I wanted to be here. I don't want to be here. This is a crime. You're a criminal. There is a certain magic to the time that you live in. You know, when you're supposed to be alive and you're living in your time, it's magical. And then, you know, I die. The next thing I know, I'm ripped out of an axolotl tank. I remember dying. Then the Leilaxu fuck with me so heavy until I remember myself and go through that traumatic experience. And then I come here and it's fucked up and you're a worm god and I'm just waiting for the magic to start and it just doesn't start. There's no magic here, okay? The magic of my life is gone and I hate it here. I hate it here. And second thing, are you marrying Hui? And he's like, yes. And then he starts looking for genitals. And this is one of my favorite parts of the book. Leto thinks to himself, they always look for genitalia. Perhaps I should have something made, a gross protuberance to shock them. And he's like laughing in his head about it, but he's like choking back. Like he's like trying not to laugh in front of Duncan, but he's like in his head, he's like cracking himself up. Like, I need to get a fucking protuberance to put on there just to freak him out. Like this, like everyone's always looking for my dick. I don't have a dick, but like maybe I'll just make one and like freak. I'll get some Cronenberg shit. I'll just get him to make something really gross and put it on there. And then people be like, ah, and like it'd be really funny. Which I die every time I read that. And Duncan asks him, do you love her? Do you love Hui? And he's like, I love her more than anyone's ever loved a woman before, okay? And he's like, well, do you want me to still mate with Sayona? And he's like, you know I do, but you do you, pal, okay? Like, of course I do, but do whatever you want. I'm not going to force you into anything. And then Duncan's like, well, who the fuck is Nyla? She's huge. What's her deal? She freaks me out. I don't like Nyla. She's too big. She freaks me out. Do you trust me? Do you trust me, Leto? And he's like, if I can't trust my Duncan, who can I trust? And what if I don't trust you, Leto? And he's like, then I pity you. Duncan's like, oh, fuck, he got me. He got me right in the heart with that one. He's like, can they hear us in the anteroom? He's like, no, they can't hear us outside, but my journals can hear us on the inside. He doesn't tell him that. He's like, but my journals can hear us. And then Duncan starts yelling about Leto manipulating Mineo. He's being really rude. He's saying that he's surrounded by aristocrats and that he isn't one and that, you know, he's not going to attend this wedding. And Leto again is like, okay, you were the aristocrat of the sword. You're telling me you're not a rebel. You were a rebel. You're telling me you're not an aristocrat. You are 100% an aristocrat of the sword. Get out of here. And he's like, could I run away? Can I just get out of here? Can I just run away? And he's like, you can do whatever you want. You can fucking leave if you want, but there is no frontier. There's no place for you to hide. Duncan's like, this is all your fault. You repress change. You suck. I hate you. Like, this is the worst. And let's see here. Leto has a big internal sigh. Let me try and lead this idiot to it. I keep trying to tell him that, like, I want surprises. I want new frontiers. That's like everything I'm doing is leading to that. This fucking dumb asshole, like, won't get it, but I have to, like, help lead him to it because I can't just tell him because he's not going to believe me. And he says, indirectly, the surest sign that an aristocracy exists is the discovery of barriers against change, curtains of iron or steel or stone or of any substance which excludes the new, the different. And he's like, I love surprises. I keep telling you I love surprises. I want new frontiers. Idaho won't see it. He changes the subject. He's asking about face dancers. Leto tries to get him to see his grand plan through a metaphor about the face dancers. Idaho still is just like, it falls on deaf ears. Duncan's just like, look, I'm loyal, but I don't like this shit. I said it. I said what I needed to say. I just don't like any of this. I'm not saying I'm not loyal, but I hate it. And I'm going to go back to the Citadel. And I should probably get to know Hui a little bit better. And Leto's like, you better avoid her. That is an order, bitch. Hui is not for you. Duncan, Idaho. Not for you. Stay away from Hui. We'll see how that plays out. We'll see how that plays out. It's like, you know, it's like Leto should use the reverse psychology thing, you know. It's just like, because that's like, it's like, okay, so this guy hates you and you're going to tell him, don't talk to this girl. So he's immediately going to go talk to this girl. And that is the end of session 5. For session 6, you need to read pages 383 through 459. And the last sentence of the last chapter is, as his humanity slipped away, though, he found himself filled with more and more human concerns. Oh, poor Leto. And thank you, everyone, for showing up for session 5. I really appreciate all of you good people here with me on the planet of Arrakis. And don't forget, you can support this book club and this channel when you join patreon.com/DanicaXIX. All these amazing people. I want to thank them for their generosity and support. Thank you guys so much. And also, you can support us when you order merch from DanicaXIX.BigCartel.com. All right, now is time for questions and answers. And if you on YouTube are interested in our questions and answers section, you can come to twitch.tv/DanicaXIX. You can look at the videos on demand section, and you can watch this video at your demand and find the Q&A portion and watch it there. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week for session 6. Mwah.